All right. Hi, everybody. Boop, boop. Sunday night study session hosted by yours truly. I got to get this window moved over so I can see the comments. Ah, Becky's already there. I didn't know you were able to make comments before it even went live. Hi, Becky. Okay. I hope you're doing okay. Did you notice the cold front came through? Cold front. I don't know. Hey Haley. Tonight's video is brought to you by because I was told I need to be healthier with my examples. This is baked coconut. This is baked apple. No. Well, they were buy one, get one free at HEB. And I suppose healthy. They smell all right. Let's see how they are. Anita. Yeah, that tastes like what a big chunk of toasted coconut you would think it would taste like. Never mind what? Chex Mix? No. I wish it was Chex Mix, but it was brought to my attention that my snack choices were not always 100% healthy, and I don't think they have to be 100% healthy, but I make it an effort, so. Hi, Joel. Sounds good. This tastes pretty good. The apples are kind of like with cinnamon. I don't know. We'll see. Do you guys want to start with some vocab while we're waiting for some people to sign in? I did a bunch of vocab in the other video from Thursday. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that video, but I did a bunch of vocab. So I'm going to do all the words in this video that I didn't do in the other video. That way you don't get a lot of repeated words, right? Now what I did was I just went through and I got maybe 40 words, 35, 40 words that I thought would be words that you would need to look up. That's how I get words for the test. So while we're waiting for some more people to sign in, I'll go ahead and do some vocab. You can get your study guides ready. You're going to need your Section 3 study guide, your Section 4 study guide, your video list, your article, your video list, and your book. And me, I need my glasses because that's just how it is. Okay, now it's all disorganized. See what I did to myself? Okay. Get all that stuff ready, and I'll do a couple vocab words. Here's how vocab works. I'm going to tell you the word or the video lists ever turn in. No, Joelle, the way that I'm checking to see if you understood the stuff on the video was on the test. So, no. You don't have to turn lists into me. You just have to show me that you know the information, right, sometimes. Okay, here's my glasses, okay. So the way that I'm going to do vocab, I'll do a couple, and then we'll do Section 3 study guide, and then I'll do a couple words, and then we'll do Section 4 study guide, and then we'll do a couple words, and then we'll do the article by Halverson, like back and forth like that. So when I show you the word, I will not define it immediately, so as to give you and the people who might watch this video later a little second to see if they know the word. And then I will read from where it is in the book, because while on the test I'm going to go ahead and put the sentence where the... Hi Danny, you're not too late, we just started. Oh, okay, you thought I still had your video list. No, I never did take the video list. So here's your first word. Your first word is keen. You should be asking yourself, do I know that word? We see it on page 213. It says, they said that of all the kings upon earth, he was the man most gracious and fair-minded, kindest to his people, and keenest to win fame. So keen means to be eager or anxious. I think we could all agree that Beowulf was the keenest to win fame. Right? We'll do 2 more vocab words, and then we'll get to Section 3 study guide. We have to finish by 8 o'clock because the Walking Dead season premieres on, and I'm watching it. Okay. So the next word is bequeath. Bequeath. Think if you know it, what it could mean. I will read it to you in a sentence. Page 177. Then in old age, at the end of his days, among the weather geats, he bequeathed to Welof innumerable weapons. Bequeath means to hand down to somebody like in a will or, at your death. Bequeath. Hi, Nick. All right. I think I did this one in the other video, but I can't remember 100%. Reek. Reek is a noun. Reek, page 179. Then he weighted the dangerous reek and went under arms to his lord, saying only, "Go on, dear Beowulf, do everything you said you would when you were still young." So the reek is smoke. We use the word reek sometimes to talk about a smell, which probably comes from the same root because smoke has a smell to it. But the way that it's used in the book is smoke, and they're talking about the smoke that's generated by the dragon. Okay, really, I did not know it was today. What? You didn't know today was the study thing? Oh, the Walking Dead thing. I didn't either, and I was busy doing all kinds of stuff all day long, and I thought, oh, I have to get ready for the video. And Mr. Ramos had his birthday dinner and all that stuff, and he said, hey, we have to watch the Walking Dead tonight. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm glad I put the study period at 7 instead of 8. I would have had a dilemma. Okay, now you guys come first. All right, study guide 3. Yes, I know your book is in my class. Somebody's book was in the class. It is online if you search for a PDF. Just search for Beowulf, Heaney, PDF, and you should be able to find one online. You guys should be kind and supportive to each other. What's that? All right, anything from Study Guide 3 that you would like to talk about? The characters at the top. All of the characters that you see at the top of Study Guide 3 and Study Guide 4 will all be on the test. But remember that there are sometimes characters that are mentioned in the questions here that might not be at the top. So if it's on the study guide, you can just assume that it's going to be on the test in some way or another. What a maroon. Really? That's from Bugs Bunny. See? I know all the literary references. Okay, can you go over question 4? Oh, you have your sisters. Okay. Can you go over question 4 for section 3? Yes. Question 4 says, identify the song of the last man. In what ways is this passage both a flashback and foreshadowing? Okay, so the song of the last man comes out in section 3. Page, I have it noted here. It describes the person who put the treasure into the cave where the dragon lives. Page 153. So the Song of the Last Man is on page 153. Well, it goes on for a few pages, but it starts on page 153. Yes, I will do question 6 next. First, let's talk about the Song of the Last Man. So the last man is the guy who puts the treasure into the vault where the dragon ends up living. And it's the treasure that the dragon is defending and that Beowulf wants to win at the end with his battle with the dragon. The Song of the Last Man is in that big paragraph at the bottom where it says, a newly constructed barrow stood waiting and so on. Into it, the keeper of the hoard had carried all the goods and golden ware worth preserving. His words were few. So then starts the quotation of his song. He's not really singing. They just call it the Song of the Last Man because he's sad. So now, earth, hold what earls once held, and heroes can no more. It was mined from you first by honorable men, My own people have been ruined in war. One by one, they went down to death, looked their last on sweet life in the hall. So that whole thing, it goes all the way over to the next page. I am left with nobody to bear a sword or burnish plated goblets. He's just lamenting that he's the last person around to even have the treasure of his people. So he's singing about why he's putting the treasure into this cave. So why is it foreshadowing? Because it foreshadows Beowulf wanting that treasure to help his people, and Beowulf and Beowulf are also last men of their tribe, the Waegmundings. And it's also a flashback because it's explaining how the treasure got into the cave in the first place when before the dragon got there. So it's also what we call an apostrophe. I'm not going to put that on the test, but apostrophe is a literary term. We use the word apostrophe when we mean that somebody, usually a poet, is speaking to something that cannot speak back. So I could say, "Oh, cold front, why do you tease me so?" Well, the cold front cannot answer me back, right? So that's an apostrophe. I'm speaking poetically to something that cannot reply, either because it's inanimate or dead. Okay, the next question is number 6 on Study Guide 3. The father's lament, Hrethel's loss of Herebald, is similar in some ways to Hrothgar's lament at the devastation caused by Grendel. Note the parallels you see in these two scenes depicting grief. Okay, so the first thing to do is to start at the father's lament. Beowulf explains how sad Hrethel was at the loss of Herebald. Halfkin kills him. I'm looking for the spot. Yeah, so 165. On page 165, Beowulf is talking about when he was younger and how he, didn't witness the death of Herebald, but yes, Beowulf wants the treasure to give to the Swedes because he thinks they're going to attack them. That's a side note. Okay, so on 165, Beowulf is just talking about when he was younger and the death, accidental killing of Herebald and the consequences and how, grieved the father Hrethel was. Hrethel is the father of Hygelac, who's the king through most of the story until Beowulf becomes king, and then also Halfkin and Herebald are Hygelac's brothers. So when Hrethel loses his son at the hand of his other son, his grief is described. Beowulf describes his grief on page 165. It was like, I'm at the bottom, like line 24, 45. It was like the misery felt by an old man who has lived to see his son's body swing on the gallows. He begins to keen and weep for his boy, watching the raven gloat where he hangs. He can be of no help. In other words, he can't do anything for his son at this point. Wisdom of age is worthless to him, which, just gets to the grief of losing a child in an unexpected way or, even at all. So the father's grief section, the father's lament is in through there and how there's nothing he can do. You're a king, you're used to having all the power. Anything you want is pretty much at your fingertips. And you're the one who says go and people go. And there's nothing you can do if your son is taken. So that lament is described pretty much all the way through toward the bottom of page 167. The second part of the question says, how can that be compared and contrasted with the descriptions? How can that be paralleled with the Hrothgar's lament at the devastation caused by Grendel? So you can go back to page 11. All the way back to page 11. And you can look on line 129. Their mighty prince, their storied leader, sat stricken and helpless, humiliated by the loss of his guard, bewildered and stunned, staring aghast at the demon's trail in deep distress. He was numb with grief, but got no respite, for one night later, merciless Grendel struck again with more gruesome murders. So it's that same stunned pain, grief. You know, Hrothgar's people are kind of like his children. I think there's a third place you could point to. I didn't put it on the study guide, but also the point when Ashera gets taken by Grendel's mother. You can get another, you know, grief-stricken moment with Hrothgar. Okay, I think that's good answers. What about anything else from study guide 3? I'm going to eat a piece of apple, dried apple. Kind of chewy. I think it's better to just eat an apple. But I guess for snacking, that's okay. All right, anything else from study guide 3? Question 2. As we are introduced to Queen Hyde on page 137, a digression tells of another queen. Explain how this foil character helps define Hyde's queenly characteristics. Okay, I will remind you that a foil character is a character that is introduced in a piece of literature that shows a sharp contrast between that character and another character, and by contrast, both characters' traits are illuminated. So, for example, when we see Queen Hyde, she's not described as much as her counterpart, her opposite is described. Queen Modthryth is the one that they talk about. She's this evil queen who, you know, used her power and her control to devastate people and cruelly punish them for dumb things. And the passage on page 137 says that Queen Hyde was the opposite of that. So by default, we think Queen Hyde was, you know, a gracious and kind queen who knew her duties and made sure that she was acting in appropriate ways, because Modthryth was not. All right, anything else from study guide 3? Boop, boop. Time for a couple more vocabulary words. What do you think? Vocab? Boss, page 181. I like this word because it comes up in poetry more often than you would think. And it comes from the word embossed. If you've ever heard of something being embossed, it means it's got raised printing on it. Like sometimes wedding invitations or diplomas or something will have an added element to the ink on a piece of paper where you can tell it, you know, texturally that it's raised from the paper. So on page 181 at the top, this is in the fight with the dragon. It says, after those words, a wildness rose in the dragon again and drove it to attack, heaving up fire, hunting for enemies, the humans it loathed. Flames lapped the shield, charred it to the boss, and the body armor on the young warrior was useless to him. So the boss is that little metal circle that's going to be in the middle. If this is the shield, right, the metal circle will be in the middle, and that got charred down so that it was flat. Probably the handle is attached on the back, right? This would be the worst shield ever. But the idea is that the boss is that part that sticks out. It's like a bump. And so that gets used a lot. Let me see. Sometimes in like medieval literature, a little later than Beowulf, people will talk about embossed skin. Bosses on their skin are like pimples. Oh, that's kind of gross. All right, fomented. Fomented. 185. Beowulf is talking about his life, and he's talking about how he was the best king he knew how to be. For 50 years I ruled this nation. This is line 2732. For 50 years I ruled this nation. No king of any neighboring clan would dare face me with troops. None had the power to intimidate me. I took what came, cared for, and stood by things in my keeping. never fomented quarrels, never swore to a lie. This is like the hero's code. This idea might be helpful to you in your little Beowulf project that we're doing for Saturday. So fomented means to instigate or to start something. So when he says, I never fomented quarrels, he's saying, I never started anything. I finished things, but I never started anything. Becky, did you fall asleep on your computer? Kind of looks like that. All right, one more, and then we will do the section 4 study guide. Gilded, page 189. I was wondering the same thing. Maybe, does she have a cat or something? Yeah, I was thinking. Your cat wants to ask me a question. Oh, the cat doesn't have to take. Oh, you know what? Remind me that there's a thing called Beowcat. There's a poem called Beowcat. I'll share it with you. Okay, so the last vocab word before we talk about section 4 is gilded. On page 189, you will see it. Then the king, line 2809, then the king in his great-heartedness unclasped the collar of gold from his neck, laundry's done, and gave it to the young thane, telling him to use it and the war shirt and the gilded helmet well. Beowulf is giving his armor to Beowulf. And gilded means covered with gold, like burnished and shiny like gold. It's right before Beowulf dies. It's the last thing he does is he says, I'm going to give you these last things because you're the last of the Wegmundings like I was, so you can have all this stuff, and now I'm going to die. Well, he says something like, now all the warriors have gone before me, and now I must follow them. Beo meow. Yeah, Beowulf for dogs. Yeah, there's all kinds of funny stuff with Beowulf. I'll share it with you maybe later in the week. All right, section 4. Anybody have anything? I feel like we went over section 4 pretty thoroughly because we did the group stuff for section 4, but if there's anything you want to hear me talk about, you can yell it out right now. I definitely like the coconut pieces better than the apple pieces. And I don't know, the apple pieces are kind of chewy, but the coconut's way better. They had chili flavored ones, like spicy coconut, baked coconut. No. Nick, I got in trouble, not in trouble, but somebody brought it to my attention that I should be a better example of snacking. So I'm eating up dried apples and dried, I mean, I'm not going to get rid of candy stuff altogether, but first I had candy corn and then I had those sour lemon gummies and I just thought, I ought to throw in something that's, you know. Yeah, he encourages me to eat healthy until on the way home from Pigskin he says, let's pick up some tacos. No shade, no tea. Yeah, right. All right, so you got section 4? Do I hear it? Anybody? We got to wrap this up in the next half hour. If you feel like you want more, then I've got 2 other hours worth of studying from last week. It's like the Mrs. Ramos Does Literature show up in here. Burritos. I don't really think they call them burritos around here, not really. Just at the convenience store. A burrito is just a taco. Unless you're in California. Or Michigan. In Michigan, tacos are the crunchy kind. Yay. Section 4, question 9. Beowulf live stream marathon yesterday. You could have another one today, right? I don't know. Can't be too exciting for people unless you're testing. All right, number 9. What are Welov's final thoughts about Beowulf? Oh, see, Canes. I like Canes. What are Beowulf's final thoughts about Beowulf? What are Welov's final thoughts about Beowulf? They come right after that page that we were just on. Page 191. There's a little description of Beowulf after the death of Beowulf, because he's the one who has to go back and tell all the men that Beowulf is dead. It was hard then on the young hero, line 28-21, having to watch the one he held so dear there on the ground, going through his death agony. The dragon from underneath, his nightmarish destroyer, lay destroyed as well, utterly without life. No longer would his snake folds, blah, blah, blah. Never again would he glitter and glide. There were few indeed, as far as I have heard, big and brave as they may have been, few who would have held out if they had had to face the outpourings of that poison breather, kenning. Poison breather's a good kenning. Or gone foraging on the ring hall floor and found the deep barrow dweller on guard and awake. Then he goes and gives a speech on page 193 to all the other people, where he says, line 28-65, anyone ready to admit the truth will surely realize that the Lord of Men, who showered you with gifts and gave you the armor you are standing in when he would distribute helmets and mail shirts to men on the mead benches, a prince treating his thanes in hall to the best he could find, far or near, was throwing weapons uselessly away. It would be a sad waste when war broke out. So he's talking about Beowulf needing their help and them doing nothing, and how he gave them everything he could possibly give them, and they gave him very little. So he just pretty much continues the guilt trip that he used when he was trying to get them to come and help when Beowulf was still alive and they were fighting the dragon. A piece of hair sticking. Disobedient hair. I did that because it would bother me, but I feel like it would bother somebody else too. Like, oh, that piece of hair is just sticking out right there. So his final thoughts are that Beowulf was pretty much the greatest ever and did everything that he could do to help his people, and he's really disappointed in the others who don't go to help. Question 3. Beowulf makes a speech to the shirkers. Okay, that one is referring to the previous speech, because he makes a couple different speeches to those people. And there's an earlier speech where he tries to get them to come and help before the final blow on the dragon, the final blow on Beowulf. So it's at the bottom of page 177. Question number 3, Beowulf's speech to the shirkers is there. Sad at heart, addressing his companions, Beowulf spoke wise and fluent words. I remember that time when mead was flowing, how we pledged loyalty to our Lord in the hall, promised our ring giver we would be worth our price, made good the gift of the war gear, those swords and helmets as and when his need required it. He picked us out from the army deliberately, honored us and judged us. He talks in that whole speech, it's pretty long. He says, I would rather my body were robed in the same burning blaze as my gold giver's body than go back home bearing arms. He says, I would rather die fighting with my hero than go back with my weapons and give up. So he talks about the debt that they owe to Beowulf, the promise that they made him when they were, partying it up in the mead hall, the pride, the honor, the brotherhood of all that he had done for them. And so he's using all those tools to try to explain why they should go and fight with Beowulf. Rhetorical strategy is mainly guilt, but also he is reminding them of their debt to him and that they should go and pay that debt. Becky says she feels ignored. Why? Did I jump ahead on the question? Oh yeah, question 2 for section 4. Well, there's a big lag that I don't really like on this system. It's almost a minute long. So, okay, I'm going to go back to question 2. How many questions on the test? 50. Will the amount of free response questions go up as well? Yes, there are 4. I gave a version of the test on Friday to the B-Day students. So usually I change, maybe half of the multiple choice test and all of the questions, the free response questions for each class. That's mainly to protect you, but also so I don't get bored. And then people will come and say, hey, what questions are on the test? And you'll be like, you'll feel pressure or whatever. So I just think it's better to have different questions. Question 2, for Miss Becky, my favorite. I feel bad that I forgot you. There. Characterize Beowulf. Use specific quotes. Well, I think we've been quoting Beowulf a lot in this video, so I'll say Beowulf is eager to help even though he knows that he may die. And that's sort of the description of hero, right? I can give you a hug through the computer. Can you do that? It's like in reverse there. Oh, that just got creepy. Okay. Beowulf, I think he's the truest hero of all those people that could be helping Beowulf because he does the thing that Beowulf does himself. He doesn't think about his own welfare. He thinks about what needs to be done and what's right to do, and he takes care of that. So if I was characterizing Beowulf, I would probably go in the direction of saying that he's a lot like Beowulf, and I would use the speeches to show how he honors Beowulf and proves his worthiness. Virtual hugs. I'm sorry I missed your thing. Sometimes I'm talking or reading and it's like I can see that it's moving, but I'm not, like I'm in the middle of a thought, so I don't always look at that until later. I think I got to all of them though, right? It was number 2 and I did. I think I can scroll. Question 3, I did question 3. Question 2 for section 4, yeah. Question 6, oh, Halverson. What does the dragon's treasure symbolize? How does the symbol shift in meaning? Okay, so sometimes symbols can shift through the course of a piece of literature. It starts off meaning one thing and then it grows and changes into meaning something else. And in this case, the dragon's treasure does that. To the man who puts it in the cave, the song of the last man who puts it in the cave, it's the remnants of his people. It's his last history of his people. And it's sort of a funeral, really, for his clan by putting everything that they owned in there. For the dragon, it's some sort of possession. The dragon gets mad and wants to defend it. He gets super mad when that one guy comes and takes a cup. And so obviously he's very attached to the treasure that he didn't even amass himself. Yes, we will do more vocab. And then third, the treasure to Beowulf means the salvation of his people. So as the time kind of ticks along a little bit, we start to see that the treasure takes on different meaning for different characters at different points in the story. So I think sometimes when we study symbol, it's like, oh, the bird means this, and it can only mean that, and it only means that, period. But symbols can shift and change in literature, and I think those make interesting observations because it shows that you've analyzed something in more depth. So for Beowulf, the treasure becomes the salvation of his people. He thinks that the treasure is going to save them from the attack of the Swedes. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out like that, but that's one of his main purposes in trying to get the treasure is to save his people so that they can use it to buy off the Swedes so they'll take off. All right, we'll do vocab as soon as everybody tells me they don't need anything else from section 4. Boop, 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 boop. So I get made fun of in the teacher's lounge for putting pictures on my stuff. Did you know that? I think it's interesting, and I think that it makes it more fun to do an assignment if there's a picture on there. And I'm not trying to treat you like little children. I just think that it's something to think about. Everybody's good in section 4? Okay, vocab. Let's do some vocab, and then after that we will do the article, the Halverson article, because there are questions from the Halverson article. All right, the next word is a sail. There was a sale on the boat. I saw a sale at Sephora.com. No, I didn't. They hardly ever have sales. Actually, they have more sales than they used to. Page 191. At the very top. He had no more to confide. The furious heat of the pyre would assail him. Assail means to attack. So it's sort of like when they don't have any other way to defend themselves against the dragon. And It talks here about how the furious heat of the pyre, Beowulf's funeral pyre. Because he's dead at that point. It's just right after he died. Page 191. I know, right? I don't know. I feel like the thing about memes and all those things are sort of like, it's like an inside joke, right? It's sort of like, oh, well, that wouldn't make sense to me unless I had read that book or unless I knew that reference. So it kind of makes you feel like you're in the loop. It's like a private joke or something. We should make memes. We should make an assignment to make memes about Beowulf or whatever we're going to do in the future. Note to self. Remind me later. All right, ordain is the next word. Ordain. Yeah, definitely like the coconut better. Definitely coconut. There will probably never be memes on the AP test. Most people sit and hand grade essays in a room. I really don't think that they're with it on the 21st century stuff. All right, page 193. Ordain. At the very bottom. Beowulf had little cause to brag about his armed guard, yet God who... 7:37. I have a cuckoo clock. It's a family thing. Beowulf had little cause to brag about his armed guard, yet God who ordains, who wins or loses, allowed him to strike with his own blade when bravery was needed. So ordains means to order or decree or allow. Rebuke. Rebuke is on that same page. Line 2860. Then a stern rebuke was bound to come from the young warrior to the ones who had been cowards. This is when Beowulf is going to rebuke the shirkers. We already talked about what shirkers are, but rebuke means to show disapproval. To like chew them out, to make them feel bad. He's going to give them that. It's almost time to watch zombies in 20 minutes. I usually watch the last episode, though, because they have so many spaces between things. I can't remember everything that happened, so I'll just have to go on. It's not just about zombies. It's mainly about zombies. I will argue that it's about the human condition, but I want to finish up this study thing before so we can all watch it. Should we talk about the videos, or do you want... Let's do the article. And I'll do some more words. I have like maybe 6 more words to do, or 8. We did a lot of words in the video from Thursday night. So if you really want to study more vocab, you can go back and watch that video. I'm just like those YouTubers, right? Like, you can go back and watch my video on this, or you can go back and watch my video on that. Okay. Halverson article. You know what I did in the Thursday video that I will do? I think I also did it in the Tuesday video. I will do it here too so that you can get a screen grab later, or I don't know if you want to do one now. This is my list of all the oppositions that are present in the article that Halverson talks about. I think that there might be more, but I don't know. I've added them over the years. I've used this article for a few years now, so I'm pretty sure I've got most of them. Some of them are blatantly explained and obvious in the article, and some of them he sort of talks about but doesn't actually name them that thing. But there is a question on the study guide for this. Oh, did I not bring the study guide for this? Burp, burp. Yeah, I didn't bring the study guide for the Halverson article, but I think there's a point on there where it says that you should be able to identify other oppositions besides chaos and order, and what Halverson says about how they work into his idea. Oh, you just wanted to get mad at Joel. Well, that's on you too. All right. Questions about the article, or anything from the study guide on the article? Look at the study guide, see if there's anything you want to talk about. I mean, like, I feel like I went over it in class in case there were any questions, but sometimes people don't like to ask questions in class. To me, asking questions in class is a sign of intelligence because you're showing your teacher that you understood a certain level of the material, right? So you say something like, in the 3rd paragraph in section 2, Halverson talks about this and that and the other, and I remember that he mentioned that slightly in the previous section, but in this section, how is that comment different? You don't think that that question makes you sound intelligent, like you understood the rest of the article? Yeah, okay, it's identifying that there's part of the article that was unclear to you, but that's just explaining to the class, to your instructor, to everybody that you are in the assignment, right? So, I'll get off my soapbox. Are there going to be any questions on historical allusion? It's allusions with an A, and how they connect with the points made about order and chaos on the test? There could be. Yeah, there are some references to different people. Charlemagne, Offa, who else? Alfred, all those historical people. So yeah, there will be some questions about them. Some of them are like true false. What kinds of questions will come from the article? Okay, so I will pull a sentence from the article and say true or false. What does John Halverson say? John Halverson says, and then I'll like literally paraphrase a line from like an important point that he makes, and that will be like a true false question. Oh, it was probably spelled correct, Neat, so don't worry. Or I may say one of the oppositions that John Halverson addresses in his article is A, order and chaos. B, like it could be a multiple with the Roman numerals and that sort of thing. If you know the study guide from the article, then you should be fine. Roughly how many questions off the study guide? Want to know how much time I should... Okay, I want to say maybe there are 10 questions or 8 questions on the article. Maybe 12. 8 to 12. Oh no, what? Same thing with the video. You know, like maybe there are probably more questions on the video series than there are on the article. So the article might have, 8 questions, whereas the video might have 10 or 12. It's a little different for each version of the test, but the same number of questions will be on the test overall. You can bet that at least one of the short answers will be from the article, the written response. Those are trickery. Well, it's not really trickery if you know your stuff. Yeah, I really like these coconut things. I might get the spicy ones next time. Okay, more vocab? Are we done with the article? Okay. How many short answer will there be? 4. Bane. I know you're going to say this is a character in some movie, right? But I'm pretty sure they named him after this word. So it's like saying misery. Page 195. This is when the messenger comes to tell all the people that Beowulf is dead. Now the people's pride and love, the Lord of the Geats, is laid on his deathbed, brought down by the dragon's attack. Beside him lies the bane of his life, dead from knife wounds. The bane is the dragon. So a bane is like the cause of great distress. So say you got in your car in the morning and it wouldn't start, then it would be the bane of your morning, your car. Oh my Lord. Everybody's getting mad at Joel. Hello? That's why people don't ask questions in class, because y'all jump all over them like they're... It's okay to ask questions. It's a school, not a place of supreme knowledge of everyone. I don't know what that quote is from. Is that from that? I don't even know what superhero it is. There's a Bane. There's a character called Bane. All right, probably that's who he's quoting. Bereft. Page 197. Bereft. Page 197. Oh, Batman. Hi, Mark. I don't know. Batman's like my least favorite. I'm sorry. Where was I? Bereft. That's where they're talking about Onella. Old and terrible, he felled the Sea King and saved his own aged wife, the mother of Onella and of Onthair, bereft of her gold ring. So bereft means to be left without something. You can be bereft of an item or you can be bereft of happiness. Batman's not going to be on the test. 100% guaranteed. All right, one more vocab, and then we will do the video questions from the video. Okay? Okay. Sheer. This should be easy because it's an old-fashioned word for the thing that it does. Who can guess it? Who can guess it? Page 201. The book's about to fall off. 201, 201. It says, and the king collapsed, line 2980. The shepherd of people was sheared of life. Shear means to cut. That's very good. Shear just means to cut something, and they used to call scissors shears. It's like an old-fashioned word for scissors is shears. But shear can also be like mean the face of a cliff. So you have to look at the context. Okay, last section, video notes. There are quite a few questions on the video series. Are there any items on the bullets that you either did not get from the video or would like for me to talk about as it shows up in the video? I already know all that stuff on the test. I just show up to watch Mrs. Ramos eat coconut bits. Oh, by the way, I found out the name. If you watch the video from Thursday, there is a thing. It's in Japan where people watch people eat. It's called mukbang. Not on the test. Okay, anything from the video? Nothing's coming up. If you're just joining us today, I'm having dried apples and also dried coconut. All I can think is I want to make cookies out of them. Let's take something healthy and make it bad for you. Nothing on the videos? Oh, okay, fine. Impressions Southern Europeans had of the Northern Danes. Okay, so because the Danes started raiding, they started leaving and going places to conquer more lands. You know, they were Vikings and they went all over the place. I just have to look for where that is because, silly me, I didn't number them. Okay, it's like the 10th one or so. Impressions Southern Europeans had of the Northern Danes. The notes I have from the video say that they were to be feared, barbarians, bloodthirsty, and that they had wide open lands. That's what I got from the movie. To be feared, barbarian, bloodthirsty, and wide open lands. If you watch the series Vikings, which I highly recommend, it is highly entertaining. You can go watch, and I think they're on season 4. It is, you know, like PG-13 or so, or whatever. But it's really interesting and somewhat historically correct. What is the hierarchy of Anglo-Saxon society? You're only 12? On the inside or what? Okay, it's like halfway through the list. The hierarchy of Anglo-Saxon society. Okay, starts with king. But that's not always hereditary, they say in the video. Sometimes it's based on something, like there's a fight or somebody challenges somebody to be king. It's not always hereditary like we see in Europe today. King, thanes, freemen commoners, in other words, not slaves, seasoned fighters, domestics, serfs. That's kind of the order. There is a note in the video too where they say that the women had more influence than people normally assume, like especially with queens at court or with their husbands. About how many lines of poetry survived? They think that it's around 300,000. There are other works. I didn't have time to do the lecture on how the Beowulf manuscript survived, because it's pretty much of a miracle how that even occurred. I think they talk about it a little bit in the video. But 30,000 lines of poetry survived. So you can see that Beowulf is just a part of that. There are other pieces that were in that same manuscript. And it's the oldest piece that we know that Beowulf exists in. What are the cultural names for the northern Danes? Oh, boy. Oh, I missed it. Next year I should number these. I can see it. Oh, it's like the 8th one. Sorry. That was super exciting there for a few minutes, wasn't it? The cultural names for the northern Danes, Jutes, Angles, and Saxons. That's where we get the term Anglo-Saxons from, because they were Angles and Saxons, and they, combined together to form their culture. And their characteristics: warlike, pirates, aggressive, not fair, barbarians, take what they can. Yeah, I know I should have blinked or something, but I was looking for that line. Explanation of the value of the custom of Verzegeld. Yeah. Verzegeld is not a term that you hear about very much, but they do mention it in the video. And the guy has an accent, so it sounds weird when he says Verzegeld. Plus, it's a foreign word, and we're Americans, so. Explanation of the value of the custom of Verzegeld. It's, I don't know, in the last third of the questions. The idea is that that the loss of life would mean that you needed to give money to the family for killing somebody. So it's how they started to value each individual person. Nowadays, if somebody's killed, unduly, the family can sue and get whatever money maybe the person was worth or would have earned in their lifetime or something like that. Or nowadays it's just punitive, right? We just want to, get people in jail for killing somebody. But at this time is when they first came up with the idea that each individual life is important. And so it's a custom to pay the family of somebody that you kill, either with treasure or arms or something like that. I thought I had broken her. No, it was just I was skipping over the question for some reason. I was scanning. It's been a long weekend. We've been pretty busy. Matter of fact, I have to do some more later on tonight or early tomorrow morning. I have to do some more college admissions essays because there's people who haven't had theirs back for like 4 days, and I feel guilty. It was either go to Pigskin or stay home and do college admissions essays, guys. You know, like there's only one of me, so I figured A, it's more fun to go to Pigskin, and B, that's the stuff that memories are made of. So, okay, let's do these last few vocabulary words, and then I'll be done for today. Amends. Amends, page 205. Oh, I didn't circle it. Where is it? Man, I'm having trouble finding stuff today. Amends means compensation. So it means to, you know, like pay back somebody for something. Looking for the sentence. Normally I circle them. Oh, it's the very last word on the page. First, the dragon slew that man among men, who in turn made fierce amends and settled the feud. So the dragon killed Beowulf, or attacked the people, and Beowulf paid him back. Next, transgression. Transgression is there on page 207. Line 3073. The highborn chiefs who had buried the treasure declared it until doomsday so accursed that whoever robbed it would be guilty of wrong and grimly punished for their transgression. Transgression is like an act or a law against something. An offense sometimes. 3 more words. Beer. Beer is on page 209. This word also comes out in Romeo and Juliet. Did you all read Romeo and Juliet? Like the original? Or did they make you read a different version of Romeo and Juliet? A beer, it says, let a beer, line 310807. Let a beer be made and got ready quickly when we come out, and then let us bring the body of our Lord, the man we loved, to where he will lodge for a long time in the care of the Almighty. So a bier is like a frame that holds a corpse, like a stretcher. And they talk about Juliet on her bier in Romeo and Juliet. But in this case, it's about Beowulf. They're talking about how they're going to carry him in his pieces and parts to his barrow. Litany. Litany. There's another one I didn't circle. What's the matter with me? Litany's on page 211. Line 3150. A Yayut woman, this is when they're talking about Beowulf's funeral, what they do. A Yayut woman too sang out in grief with hair bound up. She unburdened herself of her worst fears, a wild litany of nightmare and lament. A litany is like endless repetition, long list. Romeo and Juliet. You don't know her? Last word. Heathen. Page 207. Just back a little bit. It's in that same spot where transgression is. Guilty of wrong and grimly punished for their transgression, hasped in hell bonds in heathen shrines. Heathen is a person that's not of one of the major religions. Usually it's a polytheistic religion that worships elements of the earth, not one of the main religions. All your friends are heathens? Well, we use heathen in a kind of, casual way too. Heathen could be somebody who doesn't know something, but technically, in the way that they use it in the book, heathen is somebody who's, not of a organized religion, like one of the major religions. Sometimes they do sacrifices and things like that. I have these vocab cards. I've been through all of them now between last Thursday and today. So if you want to, you can go back and watch the other video, but I did the same sort of thing where it was back and forth between things. I will also have these at school tomorrow, so if you have some study time and you want to come and borrow them from me, or if you want to look them over before the test or something like that, Here, I'll go through them all real fast for you right now. Got that? Well, you're AP students, right? Did you get it or no? Come on. All right, any last minute questions? My show's starting. I want to go spend the rest of Mr. Ramos's birthday with him. Last minute questions, or I'm going to say goodbye. Okay, I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to sign off and make some popcorn and watch some zombies. They don't call them zombies in the show. All right, guys, good study session. I hope it helped. Watch the other ones. Look over your notes. Happy birthday, Mr. Ramos. A bunch of people tweeted him. He doesn't have a Twitter. He won't do it. So I've been showing him my Twitter so everybody can see all the other messages. All right, guys. Hey, Jerry. Good night. I'm going to sign out. See you tomorrow.